the most famous woman in the world, paid a visit to King's Bruton. And to mark the occasion, Her Majesty officially opened their new music centre. So Bruton, quite rightly, feels very honoured.
3 cheers for Her Majesty the Queen. Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip.
The school is celebrating its 500th anniversary. They never dreamt they'd be able to celebrate in such style.
Today is a very important day as it's our opportunity as a school to welcome so many people from the school community, particularly Old Brutonians, back into the school to celebrate our 500th. It's a day of sport, of classic cars, a large ball in the evenings, friendship, meeting people, good food, good work, everything together to get people back into the school to celebrate with us 2019, our 500th anniversary. It's a milestone historically. Very few schools have reached this milestone, but it's also, I think it's important to emphasise, it's 500 years of education on this site.
500 years educating countless generations of young people. 500 years that in recent centuries have witnessed some outstanding sporting success. 500 years that have produced some wonderful music and drama. 500 years of community and caring. 500 years of friendship and laughter.
We have people from 1960 here right up to present day, and this year is definitely about celebrating King's Bruton, how long it's been open, how the school has been so well preserved, and especially with all of the new refurbishments happening and with the opening of the Queen Elizabeth Music School. It's something to celebrate about the school that I'm sure so many people will remember.
I've worked here for 6 years now, and probably in this, my 6th year, I've got more of a sense of what it means to be at King's than any other year before. And it's that strange sense almost of custodianship, this sense of being part of something that's bigger, something that's been around for an awfully long time. And it's that strange sense that everything that happens is somehow, there's a collective responsibility about everything that happens here.
Well, on a day like today, I think one feels that one is part of a great celebration of 500 years at King's, and it's a great feeling because what King's is built on is teamwork, and there are a lot of people here who are part of the team, whether they're teachers, staff, students, old boys, you name it. They're all here, and we all feel part of this great organisation which is celebrating its 500th anniversary.
King's Bruton is in really good heart. We're looking exceptionally good for our age.
The key events start with, the key events start with registration. There's so many people coming. We know at least 600 coming. We'll have to register everybody. There's a classic and interesting car display or rally. I've been donated for the day a Jaguar Mark II. I don't know why, but I'm delighted with that. Look at these amazing cars. As a headmaster, it's brilliant to see so many of you here. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's brought their classic and interesting cars. And I'll explain that the tour is just about to, well, we'll be going at 1 in 10 minutes. For those driving, have a really safe tour, please. Obviously follow the instructions, and we'll meet up on Hyde at 3 for tea. All of us, if you have a flag, if you're not driving, the procession's going to be going out, following the Rose's red Vitesse, going down out the way. We could have a whole line of people waving them off as the cars process out. Obviously, the cars will follow the one-way system and go left, otherwise we might have a bit of a problem, and then back up to Hyde.
Today is about the history of the school. I mean, there are very few actually institutions in this country that can look back 500 years and see a continuity of purpose over that time period.
King's Bruton was founded 500 years ago, hence this anniversary that we're celebrating this year. And that takes us back to 1519, when 3 local notable people, Richard Fitzjames, who was the Bishop of London, and Sir John Fitzjames, who eventually became the chief executor of the King's Bench, and Dr. John Edmonds, who was a Bruton lad, who went on to be Chancellor of St. Paul's. And they decided that it would be a very good idea if they gave some endowment, some property, to the Abbot of Bruton. I am sitting here on the site of the Bruton Abbey. There are no remains above ground now, but the foundations are here. And these 3 men made up a deed which they got the Abbot, William Gilbert, to sign. This required him to establish a proper school here, attached to the Abbey, and William Gilbert was going to be responsible for the management of it. The school was a simple building which was erected just the other side of the road from the entrance into the Abbey, and that original building is still there and still central part of the school. It's now part of a boarding house called Old House. So in 1539, it's rather sad, the school had to go into abeyance. It didn't officially close. The master continued to live in the house that had been provided. King Henry VIII, who had decided to dissolve all the monasteries, decided that the abbey here at Bruton should be dissolved. And that meant, actually, that the school had to stop, because not only did he take the building and the grounds of the abbey, but all the resources of the abbey, which included the school's endowments, which consisted, incidentally, of 2 large farms, a lot of property in Warminster, quite a lot of property in Bruton. And it was about 8 years later that the people of Bruton said, we must do something about this because we valued that school. And so they put together a petition. This was just after King Henry VIII died, and they sent a petition to Edward VI. Would he please consider at least returning the endowments that were intended for the school? And he agreed. And so in 1550, what we now call a refoundation charter was issued, which changed the school in quite fundamental ways. It established a group of people who were to be governors. It meant that from then on, the school was not run, they didn't have anything to do with the actual management of the school, but they were responsible for ensuring that the school was run properly by the master, because there was no longer an Abbot of Bruton to take on that role.
I think very much part of the ethos of King's is the fact that we are part of this continuity And the buildings that we have the privilege to own are part of that. And in every part of the school, there is a building which dates back 500 years, as well as, where we are today, some extremely modern buildings. So it is the continuity that is most impressive to me.
The school logo has always been something unique to King's.
I can still remember my first day wearing the blazer with the crown and dolphin.
The King's crest has its roots in the Fitzjames family. Two of the three founders of the school, which we're all proud to be part of, were from the Fitzjames family. The dolphin from this family's crest is, if you like, the ancestor of the dolphin we use today. There are many different versions of the dolphin that have been used over the centuries. There are at least 25 that can be found around the school today.
It was great to be commissioned to transform this historic motif into a successful mark which carried a sense of the school's 500th anniversary celebrations.
We thought about using the Fitzjames crest from the Merton College Chapel, which now resides in the John Davy Room. But really, we wanted to get back to our roots. We wanted to use the version of the school crest, which is carved into the gateway just outside, leading into the old house yard. It's this logo, easily remembered and full of the rich history of King's, which will sit at the heart of all our materials and ultimately the celebrations of this special place.
During our 500th year, the key events have been choral evensong at St Paul's Cathedral. We are honoured to be invited to St Paul's Cathedral. King's was founded, one of the three founders of King's Bruton was the Bishop of London, and choral evensong at St Paul's, the chapel choir performed for the first time the commissioned 500th anthem, King of Glory, King of Peace. So that commissioned anthem is one of the aspects of our 500 celebrations.
St Paul's Cathedral was just amazing. I've never really seen it very well, and it's just massive. It's beautiful inside, and to sing in there is just such an honour to be in there.
The next key event clearly was March the 28th, the royal visit, the visit of Her Majesty the Queen to officially open the Queen Elizabeth Music School. That was very significant for the school clearly, and I'm very proud of what happened at that event.
The opening of the music school I think is going to be one of the most memorable moments of my time at King's. I was singing in front of the Queen and I think I was speechless throughout half of it just because of how amazing it was, and I'm sure that it's something that this school is never going to let anybody forget.
The atmosphere of the crowd was really good. Everyone was just so excited and happy to see her, and it was just such a lovely day.
As soon as we were stood there waiting and we could hear everyone cheering her car as it came down, we got really excited. And then as she walked down, it was amazing being that close to her. She's so important.
I was involved in music and I got to sing for her in the room, and just being in the same room as her and being so close to her was just amazing. When she signed the book for the visiting, it's just amazing. And when she went on the prefect's lawn to name the horses, I got even closer to her there, which is just such an honour.
I got to give a gift to the Queen, which really can't believe I've done it still. Shake her hand and everything. I've been nervous all day, but as soon as I started talking to her, she's such a lovely lady, and it was really a special moment to be able to have.
Ladies and gentlemen, 3 cheers for Her Majesty the Queen. Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray!
It was a really important day for the school. I don't think anybody now really would underestimate how important, how honoured we were to have Her Majesty's presence, and it made the 500th a very, very significant special event for the school, for Bruton, and it gives a lot of recognition and understanding of that key date in the school's history. It was historic. It was historic.
At the beginning of the 19th century, it certainly didn't look much different from the school in 1520, say, or 1521, in that there hadn't been anything really in the way of major extension of buildings. There had been 2 extensions to the original schoolhouse. There was a wing that became a library, just one room, and then there was a piece at the back which was a dormitory above and changing rooms below. In 1826, we had a new headmaster called the Reverend John Hoskins Aberhall, and he was quite young. I think he was still in his 20s. He was very keen, he was quite wealthy, and he was determined to turn King's into a respectable academic institution, which he did. When he took over, there were 10 pupils, but within 10 years, there were 50, and then it went to 60. He started a development, his personal development campaign. He built the big open fives wall that you still see in the school, and he then built a large schoolroom with a large dormitory above, so that they could start taking boarders in numbers. And he built a little tower down by the river, which is still there, and we call it the Hoskins Aberhall Tower. He made a lot of improvements. He was very strict, quite stern, but he did wonders for the school.
Today has been very exciting because you get to know so much history of the school through the old boys that have been here, and especially as being part of a boys' house previously, there are so many different stories, and you really get the big perspective of how it was like so many years ago and how it's changed today.
It's come on so leaps and bounds, and when you come back here, you know, you always want to see your school going from strength to strength, and on a serious note, this school has just gone from leaps and bounds into being something incredible.
Just about everything's changed, except for the feeling you get walking around the school. Clearly, the infrastructure and the buildings have changed hugely. When I think back, we used to sleep in big dormitories. Now everybody's got small bedrooms with double glazing, and the hot water runs continuously.
From 1864 onwards, the governors said, now look, we've got to do something about the accommodation because it's in a terrible state, the original schoolhouse. It's very cramped, but the last part of the 19th century was absolutely critical because we had 2 headmasters who were father and son. Both of them were David Evans Norton. Father was a man of the cloth, and he was, I think, the last headmaster. They were all the Reverend until he was the last one. And he was a fine man, you know, a very principled man, but he really struggled to increase numbers. So in 1890 he handed over to his successor, who turned out to be his son, and he was outstanding. So from 1890 to 1916, halfway through the First World War, it was David Evans D.E. Norton Jr. And the school was transformed for a second time.
My first day here was VE Day, and that was a whole holiday, so that was a very good event. And there were so many things that you take for granted today that we just didn't have in those days.
Bruton itself has changed out of all recognition in that we're now one enormous gyratory system, and the school itself has changed out of all recognition. I mean, in terms of the unbelievable amount of buildings and extra facilities, and there's no comparison. I imagine in '44 it was rationing then.
I think the atmosphere, the people, the staff, even in those difficult times, we still remember them, and if we'd had bad times, we would certainly be remembering those. The good times tend to blend in with your general life.
The schools, as I said before, everything's changed and nothing's changed. I want to keep the community strong and supportive community. We are a small school, but the numbers have increased. So we've gone up to 350, which is full. I think certain aspects of the quality that we offer has been developed. You know, our hockey is much stronger than it was, our choral music. We've got a lot of dynamic staff. It's a very different feel of the common room, and it's all about people and staff. And we've improved the campus. It's important that everybody has the best possible facilities, but a school is made up of people, not about buildings. But the campus has developed, and obviously we'll keep on coming back to the Queen Elizabeth Music School, the Houser and Worth Recital Hall. This has been a major development, one of the significant developments in the school campus.
King's Bruton would not have survived the 20th century if it hadn't been for two men who we remember at every commemoration service. The first one was James Lyon. He was a boy here in the 1870s. He became a governor in the 1890s, right through to just before his death in the 1940s. And he made a lot of money in shipping insurance in London at Lloyd's. He devoted his fortune to the school. And if we look around here, practically everything we can see from here is thanks to him. This field here was part of the glebe, but he managed to persuade the church commissioners to hand this over to the school. He built that lovely pavilion over there. The Memorial Hall building, and that was largely at his expense. He loved cricket, and he'd come and he'd lean up against this wall here and watch the cricket, and he would give them advice, obviously, and he would learn that that rather promising fast bowler probably wouldn't be able to stay here because his father had lost his job and so on. So he would just say, I'll pay the fees. He was a very generous man. So he was crucial. We've been so fortunate with the people who have got to know us and learnt to love the school. And Lord Blackford, the second Lord Blackford, in the second half of the century, again a very kind, generous man. He helped particularly with the development of our junior school at Hazelgrove. Lord Blackford also contributed hugely to another boarding house. At the beginning of the century, there were just two houses. There was the old house and a new house that had been built for the headmaster in the 1860s and 70s. But they weren't capable of coping with large numbers of pupils. And so when, at the beginning of the Second World War, the school suddenly went from 100 pupils to more than double by the end of the Second World War, and then went on to be nearly 300 in the 1950s, 3 times as big, there was a pressing need for more accommodation. In 1943, a third house was established, Priory House in the High Street, which the school bought. In 1954, up on Hyde, which incidentally James Lyon had bought at auction during the First World War. It's part of the Stourhead estate. So the school could have a fine cricket field. And we've got a fourth boarding house there, which we call Lyon House. And then a fifth one just over there, Blackford House. And so these two men were absolutely fundamental in the development of the school.
I think the houses form part of the King's pupil identity. I think there's the competitive element, but there's also home. It forms part of our history. It's all encompassing. I think it means everything to a pupil.
My house is Blackford, and I just love it because the setting is just really nice, you know, in the middle, and the front garden is so nice to walk through every morning.
The house structure is really crucial to the ethos of Kings. There is that friendly rivalry between all the houses, but it never gets out of hand, and I think that's the important point, that the boys will see themselves as being part of their house before they see themselves as being part of the school as a whole.
Blackford House feels like a massive family because you're all just together and it's all just so nice.
In my house, I'm very keen on integrity. I like the boys to be able to be honest with me whether they've done things right or wrong. This is a learning environment, they will get things wrong, but provided we're honest, we can rebuild, and that's really important.
I came to the school in the summer of 1966. I had been for interview, and the headmaster, Roy Davey, was a wonderful, wonderful man, and he always seemed to have a pipe in his mouth, and when he interviewed you, he didn't say very much. So you had to keep talking, which is a very effective way of interviewing. In 1972, we had a change of headmaster and Hubert Doggett came. Now, I came in '66 to teach geography and run the first 15, and I loved everything, everything. I loved doing it because the boys were terrific. It was great fun. And I was a tutor in Old House, living in Plock's house for 10 years. And then I became housemaster of Priory House, which was a huge privilege for 15 years.
There is a great family atmosphere in the house. You know, there's no sort of segregation between years. I could walk into the common room. There's a big mixture of year groups, and it's great. It's got a really strong atmosphere to it.
The thing that's great about boarding is constantly being around your friends. Really good social life. After supper, always chatting, playing games, football, anything. And then in-house as well, so Thursday house nights, we're always doing an activity, whether it's watching a film, in the sports hall, playing football. Yeah, it's a really good atmosphere in the house.
Yeah, some of the best moments, just innumerable moments. Hot chocolate with the third form, beers with the sixth form, playing Santa Claus at Christmas, the parties, turning around people who are either unconfident, unsure, and making them into the sort of servant-hearted and feet on the ground youngsters that they became. Really, really precious.
Talking to a housemaster of my old school, my old house rather, who is interested in what I thought it was like. So it's quite interesting from that point of view.
And regardless of where people came from, we became a family.
Yeah.
It's a very small school, relatively speaking.
It's true.
But everyone joined together and created a bond and a united force going forward that helped drive not only yourself personally, but the school forward. And you were the spokespeople for the school and took great pride in doing that.
I moved here at quite an awkward time. I came halfway through a school year, so that was quite different to a lot of people. And honestly, Kings was so welcoming. I felt like I fitted in straight away. Everyone just welcomed me with open arms. And so the fact that I'm coming to my last few weeks now, it's really sad.
Arguably, I think that almost the most important change in the second half of the 20th century was the introduction of girls into the sixth form in 1969, when about 7 or 8 girls suddenly joined us for lessons. There was a girls' school up at Bratton Seymour near Wincanton who only taught up to O-level in those days. And they had some girls who wanted to do A-levels. Whether that was the reason or whether they just wanted to come to a boys' school or not, I don't know, but
They came down in a minibus in the morning, and then we had to try and round them up in the evening to get them back to the horse school. And that was the beginning of what has been the most wonderful transformation of the school. We started with just girls in the sixth form, but in 1997 we decided to open a junior girls' house in the High Street, which we decided to call Aryan House. And then both a girls' house, which had been established at Wellesley down the road, and Aryan both became vertical girls' houses. And since then we've had a third girls' house added.
That changed Kings. It changed Kings for the better. I think it made us a little bit more civilised. But even though there was a change, I think the essence of Kings remained. People who were boys at the school before the move to co-education would still recognise the school. The relationships which are formed, the desire to do things well, to support each other. Massive change, yes. However, the school still feels very much the same.
We would have almost been rusticated if we'd been caught with a Sunny Hill girl. And now there are houses of them. You know, it's just not fair.
In Wellesley, I want to offer them primarily a home, somewhere where they can come home and relax, feel at ease, feel that we're a family, but also, really importantly, that they're getting the academic support that they need.
Priory's a really nice house because it's a really good community and just really welcoming, and we all work together to make it a nice space to live in.
I love the relationship that I have with the girls. I love seeing them in a variety of environments. So I see them on the sports field, I see them in the classroom, so I get to teach them about the subject that I really love. And then I get to come home and spend time with them and listen to what makes them tick.
In the evening, it's our 500th ball for 500 people. A marquee on Abbey, and the marquee is situated within yards of where the three founders of the school signed the foundation deed with the abbot of Bruton Abbey to start the school in 1519.
Well, it's been fantastic. 2 years of planning, and eventually here we are. We've had a brilliant day. The sun has shone. All the BTEC hospitality students have done really well. They've worked. They prepared the afternoon tea. They're now serving cocktails behind me, and hopefully everybody's had a wonderful day.
I think a lot of it is the old Brutonians who haven't been back for ages, and we've got them from Australia and America. We've got 3 or 4 couples who come away from Australia just for today. And most of them haven't been back to Kings since they left, sort of 40, 50 years ago, which is just fantastic.
It's all about meeting people, meeting the old boys, meeting the friends of the school, meeting the staff, and generally feeling part of this great team that we've got together here.
500 years is an unheard of time span across the schooling structure, and I think it's something that should be held on to, and I think they're doing an amazing job to celebrate it here.
What I've enjoyed about today actually has been the belly-ache laughter of reunions with old friends, but also it gives you a sense of perspective on life and how lucky and grateful we are, but I think in many ways the country is to have a school like King's School Bruton.
I've definitely enjoyed seeing some familiar faces. I mean, there are some that I see quite regularly still, but there's some particularly teachers I haven't seen for years, so that it has been really nice just to come back, and I think as soon as you come back, all the memories flood back as well. So no, that's been great.
It's been fantastic being approached by so many different people I haven't seen for ages, and friends of my sons as well. I mean, it's been terrific in half an hour.
And it's funny, some of these guys I haven't seen for 43 years, but when we meet up again, it's just like we were here at school. So that's a wonderful feeling.
As I said to somebody earlier, it's those relational moments which are absolutely vital. Seeing students that I haven't seen for 23, 25 years, that's just fantastic.
Just catching up with old boys, seeing old faces that you haven't seen, listening to the stories of the old Brutonians that you've never met. It just really encapsulates one thing, that Kings is a continuum and it produces really, really decent people.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Could I just start off by thanking you all for coming. It's amazing to see so many people here. So 500 guests. The tickets sold out in 48 hours, so you were the lucky ones getting here. So thank you very much for coming. And we have Old Brutonians and parents from Australia, United States, France, Portugal and Kenya. So people come a really long way, so we're very grateful. Give them a round of applause. They've come a huge way to come here. I want to just steal something from Gareth Evans, what he said at a day of celebration. Gareth said that we, and I ask you now, to think about what King's Bruton means for you. What is your Kings? For me, it's my home. It's where I work, and as a headmaster, and we've got 3 previous heads at King's and a head at Hazelgrove here. As a head, you breathe the school the whole time. There's not one time I'm not thinking about King's Bruton. It's also where all my children are educated, and my eldest in 3 weeks will become an Old Brutonian, and they've had an outstanding education. So it is an honour and a privilege, it always has been for me, to be headmaster of this school, and never more so than this year in 2019, today, and on the Royal Visit. And thank you all for coming, thank you for your support. I want you to just think in your head, and it's all going to be very different and personal, what King's School Bruton means to you, what your King's is. I hope you have a great evening. The final request is for you to charge your glasses, to be upstanding, and to toast King's Bruton. Thank you very much. King's Bruton.
King's is special, really, I think, because of the relationships which people form when they're here. You know, I've been a member of staff, or I was a member of staff for 29 years. I met my lovely wife here. Both my children went through the school. And the number of people that I have met who really appreciate the time at King's and the relationships they formed with their peers, with staff, with support staff, and juniors to them.
It's the people here, the staff have been fantastic, the pupils, the friendships, the ability to get on with people of different year groups, and certainly with having had children here as well who absolutely loved it and have benefited from it as well.
This is my 5th school that I've worked in, and the one thing about King's, which is very different to every school, is the sense of community.
It was the fact that I could walk around and people said hello to each other, and there was that genuine sense that they wanted to be speaking to each other and to be friendly, and there was a sense that everyone knew everybody else.
It's a community that people feel they can return to, and the instant they're back here, it's like they've never left. Those friendships are rekindled, those memories of those classrooms and in the boarding house just come back instantly. and you see the joy and the excitement and the buzz that comes with that. And for me as a teacher that's been here for a few years now, that's a wonderful thing to observe, and it's a wonderful thing to be part of.
Kings is a sense of belonging, it's a sense of history, and it's a sense of knowing where we fit into the wider world.
So if I could give one bit of advice to current pupils here, it would be to make the most of every opportunity that's given to them, because when they look back on their school days, hopefully they are some of their most positive times, and hopefully they'll look back and thinking, yeah, I made the most of every chance that I had, whatever that is.
Seeing your children thrive and prosper and grow in maturity and confidence, every time they come back there is that transitional step from the last time to the next time. It's from the first day we were ever here, we felt part of that overall experience, and I think an experience is a key word that you share and cherish with your children as they grow and develop at this fantastic school.
You get a really good family feel here. Especially that comes across massively in the boarding house as well. Everyone's really close and there's really good integration with different year groups as well as other houses.
And so yeah, be thankful for what you've got here. It's an incredible school and it really sets you up for life outside. You can see lots of the old Brutonians here. They've got some amazing stories to tell, and it all started here. So yeah, hold on to it because it's an impressive establishment.
I want them to have enjoyed school. I think it's really important. 5 years of senior school, you'll never get these days back. It's sad if they don't enjoy their time here. I want them to have made the most of the opportunities on offer and to finish with the best possible academic education that's right for them and their academic ability.
I'm going to miss, all the kind of social life here. It's always really good fun. Getting on so well with the teachers, especially in the last couple of years, and all my friends as well. As well as I'll definitely come back and visit the old boys' events.
Well, my time at King's has been unforgettable really. I've made lifelong friends, like the friendships in and out of the classroom. Been offered so many opportunities, so through CCF, DAV, sport, I've been able to take part in so much sport that I didn't think I'd be able to do. And it's been a big part of my life, and like, when I'm older, I'm always going to look back and that will probably be the stories I'm telling is from school.
It's a special school that you'll remember for the rest of your life, and I hope as an old Brutonian you keep coming back to the school, whether you left a year ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago. And I hope that we can encourage you to come back for future days of celebration so that we can continue to celebrate King's Bruton into the next 500 years.
The future is very bright. We are in a strong position financially, which is important for a school. We are full, there's a lot of demand for places. We want to keep the same core of our education, but we'll look to develop other aspects to ensure that we have the best possible education for the boys and girls. We're looking on the campus to refurbish our tired cricket and rugby pavilion up on high. There's really exciting plans in the short term to develop that. We're looking generally, as we move forward, at affordability to make sure that we keep this education accessible to a wide range of families.
Thank you very much. King's Bruton.